is my quick run through of the bracket stage of the last 8 teams. Now, it was an interesting round. I'll start by running through this first, then we'll go into the previous round. As you can see, I'm not still in contention for the diamond coin. I will run through that yet again. But can I just say from the outset, this last 8 is stacked. Like, there's, other than 1 or 2 teams who missed out, I don't think we could have had any better teams, quite honestly. But yeah, going into the first quarterfinal, Cloud9 versus Vitality. I mean, it's just star-studded rosters across the board, really. This is a difficult one. I think Vitality have not looked great. ZywOo especially is notoriously not great when it comes to the business end of tournaments like the majors. I know they won Paris, but I felt the opposition there was quite weak. It was coming to the end of CSGO, and it was very much the rest of the rosters are in flux. Cloud9, they've a lot of players who've been there and done it before, but they don't have a primary AWP, and that, especially with, I know ZywOo I just said, but yeah, they're going to struggle without an AWP to go deep in this. I don't know. I think I like Mezzy as a player, but I think he might just be the weak link in terms of just this caliber of player. I think, you know, Axile as well is starting to step up, and I think that'll be just the difference maker. I mean, you've already got, I'd say Apex and Boomich. I'd probably edge Boomich, but I think they're pretty similar. ZywOo obviously takes it, but Vector is more solid for me than any of the supporting elements of Vitality. And I rate Flamesy and I rate Spink. I just think Cloud9 are going to edge it for the first quarterfinal. Moving into the second quarterfinal, Faze versus Spirit. I mean, Spirit are just going from strength to strength at the moment. Shiro's popping head, Donkeys, the rest of them are all playing out of their minds. Whereas Faze, on paper, they've got it. They've got the experience, but they struggled, and they were very lucky to get through this stage. And I think this is where it comes to an end, unfortunately. I don't really see how they can beat Spirit if they're on their game. Obviously, in a one-off game, anything can happen, but I'm going to go with Team Spirit on this. I feel like at the moment, they are the best team at the moment. I just think they've got too much firepower for what Faze are putting out in terms of output, which is weird because individually, maybe not individually, but Faze are like have the firepower to go toe-to-toe with anyone, you know? Brokey, fantastic player. Rain for your 4th star is a fantastic player. He's there, and he always seems to step it up at this point in the tournament. Very opposite of ZywOo in that aspect, where he steps it up. You've got Frozen, who I think is one of the best up-and-coming players, and you've got Rops, who's arguably the best rifler. He's definitely in contention for the best rifler in CS2, alongside Donk, Nico, people like that, Elige even. But I'm still going to go with Team Spirit. Eternal Fire versus NaVi. Now, this is a very weird one. Yeah, Eternal Fire. Nobody really expected them to be here. They'll be hype. There'll be a lot of hype around them. They've got a lot of firepower, and they do play very balls to the wall. Very in your face, very aggressive team. Obviously, having Woxic and Xantares, by nature, it's going to be like that. NaVi, I think they're a good team. I think they're not the perfect team, though. Like, I really rate Alexi B as a caller. I think he's a decent IGL in terms of fragging, and I think his calling is really good. I think Wonderful is a very underrated AWPer. I think he's one of the best in the world. I think Bit is really good when he's on his game. But outside of the last series, he hasn't really turned up to this tournament much. I mean, he's been on a steady decline since, like, the NaVi dynasty, so to speak. And then, you know, JL has actually stepped up and had one of his best tournaments here. But even then, I don't know how great he is. And then Im has just not really done anything, to be honest, since he was on Gamer Legion. Him with all that expectations and hasn't really delivered. I think Calyx for Eternal Fire is a good player. Same with Major. I mean, it's nice to see them there, but for me, it's got to be NaVi. I think this is the weakest of the quarterfinals, quite frankly. And then, final quarterfinal is Mouz versus G2. And oh boy, the contrast. You've got Mouz, who is a bunch of young, up-and-coming players. They went 3-0. They blitzed pretty much everyone. I mean, that complexity game wasn't even a game. It was blink and you miss it type of thing. Yimpat is playing amazing. Brolan's back to like career best form on near enough. Like he was on Fnatic. We forget about that knit period. It didn't happen. Trying to think. I mean, Sui as well on that Gamer Legion team. He proved it. He got the final in Paris, but he's a fantastic IGL, and I could see him getting picked up by one of the bigger teams down the line. Maybe even a G2. G2, by contrast, have, in my opinion, alongside Donk, the best player in CS2. Definitely at the moment, and he's going to be the best player by far, and is going to be Monacy. He's been unreal this tournament, and to be 18 and carrying a team the way he is unreal. You got Nico, who was the best rifle in CSGO, and he's definitely up there as one of the best. I don't think he's quite the best yet. I don't think he's quite adapted as quick as some, but he's still, like, on his day, unplayable. He's still top 3 riflers for me in the world at the moment. Hunter normally steps up. He's been very, very bad by his standards this tournament. Although in the Virtus Pro game, he definitely had a little bit of a comeback. So maybe that's a sign of things to come, and he can step it up as we get into the last 8. Sorry. But yeah, G2 very, very lucky to be here. Very lucky. If you didn't see the VP match, I'd check that out. But essentially in a 4v3 retake, James in the post plant, might I add, James' PC crashed and he died in the mid at 4v2 or a 3v2, I think it was, or 3v3, something like that. And then they led G2 back into the round. This was at like 11-11 as well, so it would have been 12-11 VP. They were already a map up. They probably would have took that map and been through instead of G2. So G2 count their lucky stars. Buxy was absolutely shocking in that. I've said it before. I think he's underrated in terms of his calling. I don't think he's as bad as people think. I think he's just like slightly above average for calling. I just think his fragging is just so bad. It just brings it down. And you have these pieces in Nico and Monacy. You should really be challenging for everything. I think Nex is a bit of a, yeah, he's not a bad player. He's not a thing. I think, I don't know. I'd get another IGL in, or I'd put an extra on IGL. But I wouldn't have Nexa and Huxley. I just think too much of a drag on the 3 stars. But it's a bit of a contradiction, because Mouz have been by far the better team. But I just have a funny feeling the G2 will get this. But then we move into the semi-finals. A lot of Russian, a lot of Ukrainian, a lot of CIS representation here, as you'll be able to see. By far the best region at the moment. I mean, EU's the strongest region, but within EU, not even the Scandinavian countries anymore. Denmark and Sweden has had their heyday. It's very much about the CIS region now. But Cloud9 Team Spirit, I think this is where the AWP comes in. I think Shiro will shine. I think Donk's fantastic, and I just think Spirit will have too much for Cloud9, so I'm going to put Spirit in there. NaVi G2, that's going to be a hell of a game. Going to be a rematch from Stockholm. Wonder if we'll see Nuke. I just think Monacy is better than Wonderful, but I don't think it is as big of a gap as people realise. I think Wonderful's fantastic, but I just think G2, if they're on their game, can win this. But this is by no means a guarantee. This one's a very toss-up. Like I said, it might even be Mouse Sport, and even then, it would be a 50-50. I'm just going to edge G2, just because I just feel like, I don't know, I just have a feeling, to be honest. There isn't really a case there. And then we get into G2 versus Spirit. And, you know, Shiro versus Monacy, probably going to go Monacy, but they're very two different contrasting players. Like, Monacy is very much a simple Kenny SS, where he's very aggressive, he's very flicky, he's very, he's a very appealing AWP, whereas a Shiro is more like a device or a Jame, where they just hit everything, and they're cold, and they're calculated, and they take the percentage shot. But they can hit the fancy shots if they have to, but it's more about just, it's calculated. Again, everything points to Team Spirit, but like this is the people's issue with G2, is when you have Monacy and Nico, you could just be blasting teams out. Like, this is hard. Like, you take Huxley out of that team, and it is one of the greatest teams ever in terms of G2, in terms of the players. Like, they should have a super team. But I just think Spirit, I feel like it's on the wall. I will say one thing, though, about this. Fix the save. You don't have to confirm, which is good this time. I know a lot of people have that problem. I will say one thing about Spirit. I feel like they've got that Gambit thing about them, where on paper they're blasting everyone out of the water. Their skill level is through the ceiling. They're playing amazingly coherently. But we don't know what they're like. Like, it's all good. Was it Katowice they just won? Oh, well and good saying that. But Major's a different pressure. And when you're the favourite, it's very different pressure. And Got a lot of young players on that team. Shiro notoriously goes missing and he can crumble under the pressure. So it'll be very interesting to see how he does. But yeah, I think Spirit are going to go all the way. I did wear Spirit in the last video. I am wearing a Vitality one here. But yeah, this is my predictions. I will be attending, so there won't be any more videos until post that. But we'll do a reflection. But yeah, if this is what you were here for, then thank you. I will now go through a little cheeky recap of the elimination stage. Now, moving on to the elimination stage. As you can see, I got 5 correct. I got the Mongols, I got NaVi, I got Vitality, I got Cloud9, and I got G2. And now that was a very lucky one. I had Faze going 3-0. They did go through, but not 3-0. I had VP going through, 3-0. They arguably should have gone through over G2, but they didn't make it through. They went out 2-3. I had Mouz going through 3-1. They actually made it through 3-0. And I had Spirit going through 3-2 or 3-1. And they made it through 3-0. So I actually kind of had everybody correct in the bracket. I'm trying to see who I missed out on. To be honest. I feel like I'm missing a team. Who did I not have going through? Oh, I didn't have Eternal Fire, that's it. I had VP over Eternal Fire. And then the 0-3 picks, I had the Mongols, and then I had Imperial. Imperial, I believe, went 1-3. Yeah, 1-3. It was Furia. I don't hate that. It wasn't the greatest. Just a quick reflection on the teams. I mean, Spirit were unbelievable, as always. Same as Mouz. Mouz against Complexity, especially. Eternal Fire were actually surprising how good they were. Same with Cloud9. Vitality looked shaky. NaVi were... Oh, NaVi were good. Obviously, they had a little hiccup, but it was a very close series against Cloud9. A little bit of a sweet revenge there from the players they kicked. But G2, very lucky. In my opinion, they shouldn't have. I don't think they should have replayed. Don't buy into any of that. But very lucky to be there. Same with Faze. On another day against the better team, by Complexity are a good team, but they don't have the mentality, and it's key at this point. They crumbled, and they were very lucky to get through. I don't see them going very far, just purely because they just don't seem at it. Complexity, I mean, they went 2-0, but that's another issue with these BO1s. They went 2-0, but arguably they should have been there, to be honest. Cruel Mistress's fate that they had. Halsey had one of the greatest series of his career, and Mr. Reliable Elish, he's been their best player, way and above, by far their best player. He had one of the worst games of his Complexity career, and it cost them, unfortunately. VP, very unlucky, but yeah. I'm lucky, kind of happy, because they don't play the most attractive CS, but I like them as a team nonetheless. I think they've got some good players. I actually really highly rate Jame, both as an individual and as an IGL. And it'll be a shame they're not there. Kane, didn't think they'd go far. They did surprise me somewhat, but yeah. Imperial, again, no, just not really much to add. I don't really know. I'm clutching at straws here. There's not really much to add. For me, the Brazilian scene needs to just sort it out and just make one super team rather than 5 semi-competitive teams. Ecstatic, it was a fairy tale run, but it had to end at some point, and I feel like they got found out. Not even in terms of just skip, it's just experience. Heroic again, like they've got some good players, but I just think when you get to this stage with the caliber of teams, they just don't have the individuals anymore, unfortunately. Like Tessus and Shush are good enough to be up there, they've proven it. Nertz is a good player, but again, I don't know if he's quite there for like winning championship level. I feel like they're just a step under. Like they're one of the teams where it's like they could either just miss out, or they could just about qualify, but then they won't win it. Like they're that type of team at the moment. Mongols, again, good team, but they found their level. Unfortunately, they just don't have the caliber. They're just not exposed to it enough as well. Like, they don't come to Europe obviously as often. Furia, well, they were just disappointing, to be honest. Fallen actually surprised me was how good he was. For how old he is, he's still putting out numbers, to be honest. Keserato was a little bit underwhelming, to be honest. And then the rest of them, Gallo, Yuri, just, I don't know, Furia, to me, they need to make a change because it's just not working. But yeah, as you can see, we got all the picks right. Well, not all the picks right. We got enough right. We got 5. I'm still annoyed about this. I will pop it up on the screen. But as you can see, well, first of all, I'll show you what I had. So I had this as my final. So we had 1, 2, and 3. But I'll pop it on screen now. As you can see, I originally had the 5 correct picks. But for some reason, I listened to the so-called experts on this matter. And I was tempted by the dark side. And I went over to the forbidden fruit and I changed it. And you got to go as your gut. And I didn't. And I cost it. And if I get spirit, if I get like this last stage right here, I'm going to be very annoyed that I didn't get diamond because of that. But yeah, this has been my PGL Copenhagen 2024 major PickE'ms. I hope you enjoyed. I will be back after the major with a little vlog of the experience as well as a recap video. But that should be interesting. But if you did like the video, consider liking and subscribing. Please tell me why I'm wrong or why you disagree. I do enjoy engaging in the conversations. I do enjoy the hate comments, weirdly enough. It's a bit of a masochist mentality, but do put them in as well. And yeah, thank you for watching as always, and I will see you next time.